Right now, I'm at the pinnacle of happiness. Our house in Cherry Creek North, a quiet residential area in the Denver suburbs, is surrounded by white picket fences. This two-story craftsman-style home is the one Michael and I chose together 3 years ago. On holidays, you can see neighbors enjoying their barbecues, with the savory aroma wafting on the breeze. Seasonal flowers bloom at the entrance, and the lawn gleams a vibrant green. In our small garden, the herbs and vegetables I carefully tend are growing healthily. Amy, coffee's ready. I baked blueberry muffins this morning too. On Sunday morning, I heard Michael calling me as usual. While I work from home as a graphic designer, we always make it a point to enjoy breakfast together on weekends. Fresh fruit and yogurt, along with homemade muffins, this is our ideal way to start the morning. Through the large living room window, I can see neighborhood children riding their bikes. I smile, wondering if our child will one day play here too. Michael works as a middle manager at an IT company. With an annual income of $120,000, it's more than enough for people our age. But his appeal isn't just about money. He's actively involved in church activities and has a reputation as the ideal husband in the neighborhood. He always participates in volunteer work on holidays and is beloved by the local children. With trembling hands, I held out a small box to Michael. "Is this?" Michael stared at the box, his face gradually lighting up. I could see his hand shaking slightly as he set down his coffee cup. "We're having a baby." "Yes." Michael stood up and embraced me. "I'm going to be a dad. I can't believe it. This is the beginning of our new family." That evening, we shared the news with our church community. After Sunday service at Cherry Hills Community Church, many friends offered their blessings. Sarah, who always volunteers with me at Sunday school, hugged me warmly and exclaimed, "You're going to be a wonderful mother." The pastor even said a special prayer for us. We also called my parents to share the news. My mother burst into tears of joy, and my father, unusually emotional, choked up. Then came a suggestion. "Why don't you stay near your mother?" Michael suggested. "I'm worried about you being alone, and it might be more reassuring to be near your parents for your first childbirth." My childhood home in the suburbs of St. Paul, Minnesota. The quiet lakeside house at White Bear Lake. Indeed, being near my mother for my first childbirth might be good. But I hesitate when I think about Michael. But what about you? Your work? Won't you be lonely? I'll definitely come visit on weekends. Besides, we have online communication now. Your health and the babies are the most important things. I nodded deeply at Michael's kind words. On the day I left for my parents' home, Michael helped carry my luggage and looked after me until the very end. He even brought my favorite cushion, saying, "So you can be comfortable on the plane." In his voice saying, "Take care," I thought I detected a hint of anxiety. Surely, he was worried about me and our unborn baby. "I'm looking forward to seeing you again." I gave him a light kiss and passed through the security gate. As I thought about my parents waiting at home in White Bear Lake, My heart swelled with excitement for this new chapter in my life. I felt warmth in my heart knowing I could safely give birth in my mother's caring arms. After safely delivering the baby, I decided to return home a week earlier than planned. The taxi carrying me entered the residential area of Cherry Creek North. The driver carefully proceeded at a slow speed. My 2-week-old son was breathing peacefully in my arms. I couldn't help but smile at the sight of his tiny fingers occasionally twitching. Thanks to my mother's devoted support, the delivery went smoothly. Although Michael had visited frequently at first, lately he'd been saying he was busy with work, and his communications had become less frequent. Concerned about my husband's behavior, I decided to return home early. "Would you like help with your luggage? It must be difficult with the baby." "Thank you, yes please." While the kind driver was unloading the luggage, I felt something was drastically wrong. The white of the picket fence in front of the house looked darker than usual. Had it not been maintained? The lawn I had carefully tended in early spring was overgrown, and the begonias and marigolds I had planted in the entrance garden were completely withered. A pile of mail was carelessly stacked on the porch, including newspapers and magazine subscriptions. All the curtains were drawn. Was Michael working late? But it's supposed to be the weekend. My son made a small whimpering sound. "It's okay, Mama's here," I whispered as I inserted the key with trembling hands. When I opened the front door, an eerie silence enveloped me. I couldn't hear the usual sound of the air conditioning or the television. "Michael." "I'm home, it's me." There was no response to my subdued call. Anxiety began to swell deep in my chest. Holding my son tightly in both arms, I fearfully stepped into the living room and was met with an unbelievable sight. All the drawers were left open, with important documents and albums scattered across the floor. Our wedding photos were thrown carelessly on the ground. The expensive television and the audio set Michael had been so proud of were gone without a trace. Could it be a burglary? Instinctively holding my son tighter, I dialed 911 with trembling fingers. My fingers on the screen looked like they belonged to someone else. 911, what's your emergency? A calm female voice responded. Please come, there's been a burglary at my house. My voice was shaking, and I could barely get the words out. My throat felt constricted. Stay calm. Take a deep breath. What's your address? 4455 Maplewood Lane. I have a baby, my son who was just born 2 weeks ago. Guided by the operator's composed voice, I provided the address and situation. Following her advice to please wait outside the house, I hurried toward the entrance. A few minutes later, I heard police sirens approaching. Red and blue lights sliced through the darkness alternately. 2 patrol cars arrived almost simultaneously. Ma'am, is the baby all right? A young female officer gently asked. Her name tag read Sarah Johnson. Yes, he's sleeping. But I need to change his diaper. Let's do that in our car. It's safe there. While the male officers began investigating inside, I changed my son's diaper in the patrol car, accompanied by Officer Sarah. This routine act of caring for my baby provided a strange sense of comfort in this surreal situation. "We've checked the house," the older male officer returned after a while. The name tag reading, Detective Tom Riley, gleamed under the streetlight. "Ma'am, there's something I'd like to ask you about. Can you explain these?" What Detective Riley showed me were familiar hotel receipts from the Sheraton Denver. The dates perfectly matched the period I was at my parents' home. Multiple receipts, all for the same room number. And beneath them, an empty box of contraceptives. A high-end brand hairpin. The sweet, sensual scent of perfume that definitely wasn't mine. And one decisive note. In Michael's distinctive handwriting, Hawaii, 7/15. A printout of first-class flight reservation confirmations. 2 seats. The world seemed to warp rapidly. Like a bad dream, but with an undeniable sense of reality. Only my son's presence barely kept me tethered to sanity. With trembling hands, I called my parents home. "What's wrong? Amy, are you crying? Did something happen?" At my mother's voice, tears began flowing uncontrollably. "I'll explain later, but I need to leave the house right now. Please." Officer Sarah efficiently helped pack the essentials. Diapers, changes of clothes, milk, bottles, everything proceeded in a hazy consciousness. The officers carefully documented the house's condition and took my statement, though their eyes clearly showed sympathy. Sitting in the back of the patrol car, looking at my son's tiny face back in my arms, I understood everything. This wasn't a burglary. Our valuables hadn't been stolen. This was a calculated betrayal where our entire life had been stolen. Looking at our house illuminated by the streetlights through the patrol car's rearview mirror, I gently kissed my son's cheek. "It's okay, Mama will protect you." Those words sounded more like a vow to myself than to my son. The next morning, I sat in my parents' kitchen in White Bear Lake, facing the herbal tea my mother had made. Now awake from my brief sleep, I was confronted with the reality that last night's events weren't just a nightmare. "Amy, the police called," my mother quietly announced. "They checked with Michael's company." I checked on my sleeping son's face before cautiously looking at my mother. My son sleeping in the baby bed was my only support right now. Michael, apparently resigned 2 weeks ago. My hands gripped the cup tighter. 2 weeks ago. That was right after I gave birth. The exact time my son was born. He received $50,000 as severance pay. My mother's voice continued. And a female employee resigned around the same time. In my memory, puzzle pieces gradually came together. How Michael's visits suddenly stopped, how phone conversations decreased, how message responses became delayed. And how his reactions to the baby's photos were so indifferent. "Daughter," my father's voice resonated heavily as he entered the living room. "You should check the bank account." Logging into online banking revealed an unbelievable history. Our savings from 3 years of marriage had been reduced to almost zero in the past month. Weekly withdrawals had been made up to the limit. Our house loan. I opened the mortgage statement with trembling fingers. "I'm sorry," my father placed his hand on my shoulder. I contacted the real estate agent. "The house is listed for sale." Feeling nauseous, I rushed to the bathroom. Various memories were swirling in my head. Just then, my cell phone rang. It was Detective Riley from the Denver police. "Mrs. Williams, we have new information," his voice was cautious. "We checked the security footage from the Sheraton Denver. We have footage of the woman with Michael, a Miss Jennifer Parker." I gasped at that name. Michael's subordinate. A woman known for her model-like appearance and ambitious personality. I had met her once at a Christmas party. The surveillance cameras show they had been regularly using the hotel since May. And the detective paused for a moment. "We've also confirmed credit card records. Purchases at high-end restaurants, jewelry shops, and Hawaiian airline tickets." All strength left my body. Only the sensation of my mother rubbing my back kept me connected to this reality. "We're currently tracking their whereabouts." According to the real estate agent, the house sale was being processed and was scheduled for contract next week. "However, since your name is also on the deed, a unilateral sale would be invalid." After hanging up, I stared blankly out the window. The quiet surface of White Bear Lake gleamed in the morning sun. The scene seemed to mock my current life situation. "The lawyer I consulted will come this afternoon," my mother's voice seemed to come from far away. "Everything will work out. You have us, and this little one." I found myself nodding unconsciously to my mother's words. Yes. I have a precious life to protect. I can't fall apart now. There's another update from the police. My father entered the living room with his smartphone. They found suspicious activity in Jennifer Parker's bank account. A large sum was deposited and then immediately withdrawn. The truth was becoming clear. This wasn't just an affair. It was a planned asset theft. A complete betrayal using my childbirth and return home as cover. In the afternoon, Attorney Grayson arrived. The female lawyer in her 50s analyzed the situation with calm eyes. "First, let's file for asset preservation," she efficiently spread out documents. "Then we'll prepare for divorce proceedings. There's plenty of evidence, so we can definitely protect your and your baby's rights." While reviewing the documents, I wondered if all the happy married life I had believed in until yesterday might have been a lie. But strangely, I didn't feel the intense turmoil of yesterday. Instead, a quiet anger and determination burned inside me. "Amy," Attorney Grayson gently spoke. "You're a victim. But you have the strength to overcome this. The proof is that you're already looking forward and taking action." I heard my baby crying. It was feeding time. As I picked up my son, I held his tiny hand. "Mama will definitely protect you." Those words weren't just a promise. They were my vow to myself to live a new life. One morning, Michael and Jennifer were surrounded by numerous police officers as they attempted to board a flight to Hawaii. Their luggage contained $200,000 in cash and bundles of withdrawn bankbooks. The local newspaper, beloved by Cherry Creek North residents, prominently featured a photo of their arrest. I received the news through a call from Detective Riley while watching the TV news in my parents' living room at White Bear Lake, holding my son. "I can't believe it," my mother whispered beside me. "He had such a good reputation at church." Indeed, the Cherry Hills Community Church community was deeply shocked. My Sunday school colleagues called and messaged daily with words of encouragement. Especially Sarah, who called almost every night saying, "We're all praying for you and the baby." The interrogation proceeded quickly. Jennifer was the first to break. I was deceived," she began tearfully in the interrogation room. Michael said he had already agreed on divorce with his wife. Her confession revealed the full extent of the plan. Their relationship had started more than a year ago. Michael had begun preparing his escape when my pregnancy was discovered. And the most cruel fact, he had used my childbirth and return home as the perfect opportunity for escape. He said, "Let's start a new life," Jennifer continued, unable to lift her face. "He said we'd start a real estate business in Hawaii, promised me a luxury condo." Michael, on the other hand, maintained his defiant attitude until the end. "This is groundless," he declared with folded arms in the interrogation room. "My relationship with my wife was already broken. We were supposed to be discussing property division." However, his bravado was powerless against the evidence. Hotel security camera footage, bank transaction records, communications with real estate agents. And most decisive was the record on his laptop detailing plans for their new life in Hawaii. Flight confirmation emails, Honolulu real estate materials, new business plans. Everything served as evidence of a meticulously prepared plan. The trial began when my son was 2 months old. I had to testify as a witness in the Denver District Court. The defendant systematically moved assets immediately after your childbirth, correct? The prosecutor's voice echoed in the silent courtroom. Taking a deep breath, I answered in a clear voice, "Yes." While I was at my parents' home for childbirth, my husband, the defendant, was systematically converting our shared assets to cash. From the witness stand, Michael's expression looked strangely aged. His suit was impeccable, but the bags under his eyes were deep, and his cheeks were hollow. However, my heart no longer felt the turmoil of before. Only a calm amazement at how someone I had trusted so completely could become such a stranger. The defendant Michael Williams is hereby sentenced to 5 years in prison. When the judge's voice resonated, everyone in the courtroom seemed to feel this was an appropriate sentence. Additionally, he was ordered to fully return our assets and pay compensation. Jennifer received a suspended sentence due to mitigating circumstances. Considering that the defendant was largely deceived by her accomplice and fully cooperated with the investigation, the judge stated, as she nodded slightly. After the sentencing, our eyes met in the hallway. Her former beauty had faded, replaced by an exhausted expression. She started to say something, but I quietly walked away. Whether to forgive or not, such emotions were no longer necessary. "So it's all over now," Attorney Grayson gently placed her hand on my shoulder as we were leaving. "No," I answered while adjusting my hold on my son. "Our new life is just beginning." The Cherry Creek North house was eventually sold. Parting with a home full of memories was sad, but perhaps it was a necessary step for a new beginning. Strangely, this event didn't just take something from my life, it also brought something new. Strength, determination, and above all, it taught me what true love really is. The Cherry Hills Community Church community showed more support than I could have imagined. My Sunday school friends collected donations to help fund my new life. "Your experience will become hope for others," the pastor said, offering a room in the church as an activity space. Now, a support group for women who have had similar experiences meets there regularly. I sometimes hear about Jennifer. After her probation began, she apparently moved to Arizona. Her flashy social media posts have completely disappeared, and I hear she's now working at a small accounting firm. "Mama." Suddenly, I heard a clear voice. Turning around, I saw Thomas toddling toward me with his arms wide open. His first steps. His first word. "Thomas." I couldn't help but cry out, running to scoop him up in my arms. Everyone present burst into applause. "Congratulations," David approached with a warm smile. "What a wonderful birthday present." At that moment, I was certain. Life can take unexpected turns. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. What matters is finding meaning in each step forward. Outside the window, the waves of White Bear Lake gently lap at the shore. As the evening sky turns a soft purple, dreamlike light dances on the lake's surface. "Hey, Thomas," I kissed my son's cheek softly. "Our story is just beginning." My son looked up at me with sparkling eyes, as if he understood. The future reflected in those eyes must surely be full of hope. Because we have so much love. Yes, this isn't the end. It's just the prologue of a new chapter. The party continues in the living room. Laughter, conversation, children's excited voices. This warm space is truly our real home. Holding Thomas close, I made a vow in my heart. To live strongly, kindly, and with hope. That would be the best lesson I could pass on to this child. Tomorrow, another new day begins. Along with our new story.